Here's a neat Nelspot that I bought recently. It's a stock 007 body that has had the top tube taken off and various accessories attached. Still has the stock in-grip 12-gram valve. You can see the piercer right here sticking through the rail. It has a OHMS OMS knurled pump handle, which is pretty neat. It has a, maybe an assault line or some other kind of barrel extension. But what I really want to look at on this are the internals that are in it, because they are something that I was just able to identify recently by talking to Tony Verbeek, who played for Sudden Death and who worked for Sigma Engineering, or Sigma. I'm not sure if it's Sigma Engineering. I just think it's Sigma Engineering. It was called Sigma, and it was a machine shop in San Fernando Valley, which is north of Los Angeles, which made a lot of early body kits and also other accessories, but mostly body kits and internals. So up until now, I hadn't been able to identify who these early Nelspot bolts were made from. We can see this one is dual tapped for dual pump arms, and it's non-adjustable. It's stainless. It has the anti-kink portion sticking out of the middle, which mates perfectly with this brass hammer. So up until this point, I would have said this brass hammer was made by Colin Thompson at Lapco. It's just a brass hammer. It has a stainless insert in the back, which runs about 3/4 of the way through. Then it meets with a brass piece. And this non-adjustable bolt looks almost identical to Colin's bolts, but there's a couple exceptions. The first exception is that it is not adjustable. So you would not stick your Allen rod down the barrel and adjust it. You would end up just changing springs to get a different velocity. Now the second difference, which is the biggest difference, is if we look at the bottom here, we can see there's this E or an M or a W or something. I didn't know what it was, but it's on the top and it has patent pending on the bottom. Now I assume that was an E and it stood for some manufacturer that, I don't know, had an E name, but it turns out that's actually the Greek symbol for Sigma. So this is a Sigma bolt, and it was made by Sigma, and it was one of the earliest anti-kink bolts. When I talked to Tony Verbeek, he actually said that he came up with the first anti-kink, or as he called it, friction-free design, because once they were cocked, they were held together as one unit, rather than being able to kind of kink back and forth like this. And I would say that these probably did predate Colin Thompson's bolts, but I am not totally positive they're the first anti-kink bolts. But it is very early, and I would say that Sigma also manufactured the early Lapco barrels. I can't confirm this since Colin is no longer around, but that's what I suspect, and I'll touch on that in another video. But now we'll reassemble. Actually, we'll take a look at the valve body before I reassemble. So I take my back valve body screw out. This is a stock valve retaining screw, so I don't really care about scratching it up. There we go. So loosen up my valve retaining screw, take my valve out, just take a look at the cup seal. Looks okay, coming a little unscrewed there, but screw it back in. It's a 2-hole port, could be a stock tube, could be an aftermarket tube, I'm not really sure. This is I would say this is a pretty early modified Nelspot, probably before many of the barrel kits came out, so wouldn't surprise me if it was a stainless, one of the very early stainless power tubes. So reassemble, just like so. Drop my valve body, and other pieces just uncocked my bolt and hammer, which I had attached. Put my back valve body screw in, put my pump handle on, there we go. Screw my front grip frame screw in, just my ratcheting screwdriver. Don't want to kill it, just make sure it's kind of tight. This is a steel body, most bodies are aluminum though, so if you're screwing into an aluminum body, be careful. Because if you don't strip out the head of your screw, you're going to strip your body out. So now I can tilt my bolt up. There we go. Put my pump handle on. Last but not least, screw in my 2 side valve body screws. There we go. They are in. Now we're reassembled. Ta-da!